Good morning, brothers and sisters in the Lord. Today is the 27th of December 2025, and I would like to present to you the research I've done on the biblical timeline for the last 7,000 years. I've finally come to a conclusion and completion of the study which I've done some 25, 30 years ago from time to time to establish the events in the Bible precisely as God is not out of confusion but of a sound mind and will not lead us astray. As you see on the wall is the summary of the timeline, the biblical timeline, which I put together, which I will go through with you, and you will express your own opinion or judgment. All right. In the beginning, from here, about 3942.5051 BCE is the day when God created Adam in his own image and likeness. And when we count from the time Adam was born, was created at year 0 here, and when he was 130 years old, he gave birth to, he bore Seth, and Seth was 105 years and gave birth to Enos, and so on. We complete this time in this manner according to the Bible records. You will see that we have come to 2,106 biblical years. Now, the biblical years in the Bible is a year of 360 days long, and all the months is precisely 30 days long. So, to get the conversion to the decimal, get the time in a biblical timeline, the dates to be converted to using the solar calendar timeline, which is 365.25 days. So therefore, when we divide 360 by 365.25 days, we get a decimal number of 0.98 and many decimal places, for which we multiply this 4,000 biblical years and we get this number. So when we come to the middle year, that's about 2,106 biblical years. We do a conversion of it into equivalent in solar years. We have 2,075.7289 solar years. So this is the middle of the biblical middle of the 4,000 years. And this middle is the time when Jacob was born. Jacob was born in the year 1866.7762 BCE. And the difference of which, of course, will come to year 0. So the biblical year starts from year 0 to 1 BCE. That's when it's equal to 180 or 080. So that's about 4,000 biblical years gone. Now, when we get the difference between these two biblical years, we'll find that from here we get this number 30.2711 solar year. So from here we have to logically add it back in time. So we plus it with this here when Adam was born to get the correct here when the 7,000 years begins. That is 3,972.7762 BCE. That's the beginning of the 7,000 solar years to run on the solar calendar of 7,000 years. Then the difference of these years from when Adam was born to year zero is 27.223880. So we add from zero coming this way. From here we get the time when Jesus was he had a great commission. He was commissioned when he went after the baptism. He went to the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights, and then come back again to preach the gospel in Nazareth. And I believe the 50th day after baptism, that's when this date comes into play. That's when Jesus started precisely 3.5 years ministry, which terminates in 30.7238 AD, or some commonly say 30 AD. So this is the decimal number here. It's that months. So we can do conversion of this decimal by multiply this number by the 1/12 to get the month, and the decimal of the month we can divide by multiply by 1/30th to get the day of the month, and so on and on. And that's why the decimal carry forward is also significant to pinpoint the precise month and the day of the events from the calendar. And of course, we start from the clue that God gave us to start from the first day of the Hebrew. Here, Nissan is the first day and not the feast day or January of our solar calendar. All right. Now, you'll find that I just recently discovered that from here, from 27, that's 27.223880, that's precisely when 4,000 years from the creation comes to about year. It's about 4,000 years, biblical years. Solar years. But in between, less this year, 30 years going this way, and 27 comes this way, is the 4,000 years biblical years. All right, precisely from here, when we add 2,000 years, not from the cross, but rather from the time when Jesus appeared in the temple to preach the gospel in the temple, in the synagogue in Nazareth, where he declared the acceptable year of the Lord and sent the Spirit of God upon him to preach to the poor and bring liberation to the captives and set the captives bound free and blind eye open. So look 4 and 18 and 19. So this the point here, fulfill on this day. So from here, when we precisely at 2,000 years, it takes us straight to 2027.2238 AD. Now, from getting the 3,000 years, we find interestingly is that if you get 3,000 years, if you add another 3,000 years from here, you will go straight to 3,000. Sorry, what? If you add another 1,000 year solar year, you will go straight to 3,027.2238 AD, which is the end of the 7,000 years. Yeah, as you can see, it's the end of the 7,000 years here. So from here, it's precisely from the time when the 5,000 year began. We have 60,000 years, and then we have 7,000. So there are 3,000 years. So when we get the when we this is precisely 7,000 years. So, but when we get that 3,000 biblical years and we do a conversion, we arrive at this 2,957.28789 solar years. And now that solar years, because it's 3,000 biblical years, if we move back in time 3,000 solar years on the timeline, we come to the year 70.3449 AD, and that's about 4th of August 70 AD. That's precisely when the temple was destroyed. Temple was destroyed in the state. And then once we get 2,000 years from when the temple was destroyed, to when we come to we arrive at 2041.59 75 80. From here, you will find that the difference of 1,000 years will be about 14 years. We move that back to 2027, or if you like, it's 2027 where 2,000 years completes. If you minus that with the number that we got by coming back from 70, 80, we will get the same number of difference of the conversion from 2,000 solar years to biblical years. All right, from here, you will find that from this point, exactly or precisely about 1,000 biblical years it will take from here to come to meet up with the end of the 7,000 years. And then from the end of the 7,000 years, going back, we come to 70 AD when the temple was destroyed. So specifically, people are mindful or thinking about the rapture when it might happen. 2041.95975 AD is the end of the 6,000 years, 6,000 solar years. So if we move back in time, in this difference of the 1,000 years for the millennium period, we come to 27 again. We come to 2027, which is also the correct end of the 2,000 years, solar years. So the difference of the 1,000 biblical years, its difference is from 2041 5975 AD to 2027.2238 AD. So in the middle is this splitting this 14 years to precisely 7 years. The 7 years we come to 2034.2238. So in the middle there, I believe the rapture will take place in the year and the season. Sorry, the times and the seasons, which is the year and the month, which we can know, but nobody knows the day and the hour. So the year for information is, I believe, is on this timeline calculation is 2034. Is about the time the rapture will take place. Now we are now in 2026. So 27 now we will come to the end of the proper 6,000 years, and then from 2027 both the 1,000 biblical years and 1,000 solar years will play out. But by the grace of God, I believe it will allow for the 1,000 years, the millennial reign of Christ, to be not in biblical years, but not in solar years, but in biblical years. If it is to be in biblical years, then Jesus would have come 27 as the end of the world. But it will allow for the 1,000 years to be taken as the 1,000 biblical years of 360 days. Therefore, we have now the grace of 14 years from 2027. And this I established as in one of my earlier video. I mentioned that this is the first 7 years of great prosperity of Joseph's time. And this is from 2034 to 2041 be the time of great famine on Joseph's time, 14 years. But this last, you also realize that the last 7 years is the 70th week of Daniel that established will run from 2030 to 34 to 2041. And Jesus also return on this time, and this is the time also the 1,000 million reign of Christ will start, and will complete all these timeline events. And finally, just yesterday or 2 days ago, I established the end of what will happen towards the end of the 1,000 or 7,000 years. So a number of things will play out as Satan will be released, and then the great white throne judgment, and then God will destroy the heaven and the earth and create a new heaven and new earth, and then the millennial reign will begin. So all this will take place for the last 22 years. 22 days. 22 days. So you'll see 3027.223 plus 22 days is also equal to 3027.2238, which is the final hand. So I've established 22 days as the first 10 days will be the 10 days of the Feast of Trumpets. And then that's when Satan will be released from here for 10 days. And then during the Feast of Atonement, he will be cast into the lake of fire. And then for the next 5 days, God will call for the resurrection of the dead to appear before the great white throne judgment on the Feast of Atonement. And that's when all the Jews will be saved earlier on from 2041. At that time, God will judge everyone, find a name not in the Lamb's Book of Life, and cast them to the lake of fire forever, separated from God. So that's when the next 5 days. And then the Feast of the Tabernacle, which is 7 days, will take another 7 days. And that's when God, I believe, will destroy this earth and heaven and create a new heaven and new earth, as he did in the first 7 days in the beginning. He will use these last 7 days to recreate the new heaven and new earth. And then the 8th, which is also the 8th day, which is the first day of the end of the 7th day of the Feast of Tabernacle, is the new millennium, the beginning of the 8 million, and 8 is Jesus' number. And Jesus will rule and reign with his saints from this point on forever and ever. This is a summary of the timeline. I've been doing research for some time. So using a decimal, I was able to convert. And also, I was able to translate the different, which I'm working on now, and they sort of agree. I superimposed the date of the Hebrew calendar along with the biblical study here, and I sort of they agree. They sort of come to an agreement. So this is what I'm presenting to you, and though you will not hear my voice, but I'm Paul Kamakande in Port Moresby, sharing the timeline which I did the research on for the last 20, 30 years as a summary to you to bless you, people of the world. God bless you all.